are back at it. We are going to do some more art for the upcoming Eberron adventure, Crystals of Mabar, which we have right here on screen that we're looking at it. This is the book cover that we created. You can check the Eberron Adventure Design Crystals of Mabar playlist that we have. Adventure Design Crystals of Mabar. Sounds pretty good. Yeah, you can check the playlist to see the production of that book cover. And if you follow me on Twitter, I've just posted that I am live posted on Twitter. So you're welcome to catch me on there and to keep up with me. There's also in the description down below, there's a link to the DMsGuild. It's a number of books that I've produced previously. You can read them all cover to cover, which is kind of the point I'm making. You click on any of those books that I've published, you can read the entire book cover to cover. It's each one of them. Well, almost everything that I publish has assets that come with it. Like, for example, we're doing map and token assets to accompany this adventure. So although you can certainly skim through the adventure and get the gist of what it is at no cost, the real advantage in purchasing comes from all the additional assets to put it into like the VTT space and to do all the things that make it easy for you to run the adventure. This is a very long form style of producing content, in that we're developing the document and then creating all the cartography assets, painting all the illustrations, doing the book layouts here on stream so you guys can kind of see how that process moves along and the insanity of that many hours of production causes for the guy that would dare to do all that work, which is that's me. So YouTube doesn't really know what to do with that kind of content. So I would ask that you like, subscribe, and then check out the different playlists of content production I have. We've got 3 books in production right now. We've got the Crystals of Mabar that we're doing tonight, the Light of Zaraxis, and the general mechanics upgrade for Spelljammer called Spelljammer Combat and Exploration, which will also publish on the DMsGuild. Also be 100% preview. And then Monday lunch stream, we've been doing Martial Powers, which is adding non-spell magical effects to all martial characters and providing alternate spell slot ideas, different things for like half-casters to use other than the short spell list that they provided. So there's a lot of content that we're producing. We're developing it all here. We're doing all the assets here. We're doing the layout here. We're doing art layouts inside here, and then we'll publish it. So tag along, kick it out with us, and let's do this thing. So what we want to do is, let's see, this is the cemetery that we've been working on. I'm going to go ahead and grab this here and grab this here. How do I get you to play nice? I don't. Okay, cool. So let's just go ahead and reopen that here real quick, and then we'll actually get into what we're getting into. This is the last, the first map that we completed. And so we're going to be able to use all the color and texture referencing off of this map to more quickly colorize this map. And hey, Flutes, good to see you, my man. So this is the cemetery map that we have. Here is the flooded fortress map that we had done. And if this is the first time looking at this, all this grit are black crystals that form inside of a Mabar manifest zone in Eberron. It's the foreign dimension co-terminating with Eberron changes, like terraforms the area that the other plane is invading that space. So this adventure takes place inside of Mabar, which is the plane of darkness and dread. It's like a necromancy world, and it's got like Bodax and Barghests and like Yugoloth are the most intelligent things there. Horrible, nasty nightmare creatures. And so this adventure is the characters delving into this manifest zone where all these different structures and ruins are at, to try to basically plug the hole and keep hell from spewing forth on Earth. So the past God knows how many hours we've been producing this 52 by 54 inch map. Take a look down here and you can see these are 10 by 14 spaces that we've produced that are in this map is 100 pixel per inch. So like when we zoom in here, you can see that the lines here are 2 pixels wide, right? But if you come over here to the outer edge of the map, you can see it's 1 pixel wide. So you can easily control integrating a map into a virtual tabletop environment by using 100 dpi map resolution, because you can easily sync up this 1 pixel wide line space. And when you drop it down to, like, say, most VTTs are like 70 dpi, for instance. This 2 pixels at 100 pixels per inch, when you reduce the map down to 70 pixels per inch, it forces this line to basically become a 1 pixel space when the vector program that creates the map line, that creates the grid lines inside of the VTT, you can get this type of a map at 100 dpi with 1 pixel wide lines to easily align with that map. It's super easy to integrate this into a VTT, which is why we built it to this format. But for people that actually want to do tabletop, they have this 1 pixel thing doesn't work so well for them. So what we had to do is break up the map space into printable pages. So just like with this color map here, we can come along here and we can just we're trying to prove a point here, so help us out, thank you. So here's the black and white map we made of this section. You can see here's the color down here. We can just as easily break this thing out, and let's see, do we have this broken down? No, we don't have this broken down by pages, but we can break this one down into a 10-inch by 16-inch space, 1, 2, 3 squares wide. And if we go back into this space, you can see this is 1, 2, 3, 4 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are 10-inch by 14-inch spaces. So if you take an 11 by 17 legal sheet, you can feed it through your printer, and this is a super low ink expense for printing at home. And obviously you can stack up all these things with the little guide image that we'll provide in the zip pack that comes along with this when you get off the DMsGuild. You'll be able to see how you need to lay out these maps. So if you're using like a typical, like a ChessX 36 by 24 inch board, you can lay out 1, 2, 3 of these. Like you can do 2 by 2, or you can do 1, 2. Like you can potentially do, if you have one of the large, like the 48 by 36 ChessX grid maps, that, like the roll up scrolls, you can do a 3 by 3 space here, and like have this entire map environment here on your ChessX map. Pretty easy for you to be able to use this on a tabletop, and in virtual tabletops, of course, this is really low resolution. Flutes, I was almost, he says, I was almost going to be up in your area this weekend, but oh, that's too bad. When you are in the Seattle area, let me know, my dude, and we'll kick some back. If you kick things back at all. Everyone's different. But I'd love to hang with you, man. It'd be cool. So I'm in the Seattle area. So we have this black and white map. We have it all broken down. And we're going to, since we've gotten all of the texturing, all of the structure, it's being disintegrated. The necrotic atmosphere of the Mabar zone is destroying the vegetation. It's converting the soil into this grit that we were looking at, and it's eroding the stonework of this cemetery. This is a Cartography military cemetery to honor the troop that had been stationed at this fort at the time, some 400 years ago, when this manifest zone first triggered, activated, and subsequently destroyed everyone that was there. So they kind of made a tribute out of it, and then they let the forest swallow it up to be forgotten about. Well, now that the last war is over and the Emerald Claw is no longer in vogue, you got a lot of people that were part of that organization that have lost their status in Cartography society. So now they have to figure out a way to reclaim that. And the quick path to power is unearthing magical exploits, such as taking control of a manifest zone, so you can control the undead that come through it, control the travel between that foreign world and ours, as well as gather up all this grit on the ground, which is you can convert it with just a little bit of blood and a lot of ground up crystals. You can create a material component that you can use for any darkness or necromancy spell, or to use in any kind of a ritual. And we see some nasty ritual going on in the later part of this book, which is something that the team has to shut down. But so that without further ado, we're going to get into this. So what I need to do first off is again look at my grid to see where my map sits. And my goal is to fill up all of this with this base turf here initially. I'm just going to grab a chunk of this here in Photoshop and then just do a full grab. And then we're going to go over here and we're going to drop that into here. So let's go up like this to here. I have to make a new folder. So I'm going to go down to here and then here. And we're going to go color. Oops, I should capitalize that. Color. Cool. Now that we have this, as you can see, it's underneath the grid. Where did my grid go? Thank you. I can take this thing, I can drop it in here like this. All right, sorry, I'm letting my eyes adjust. All right, and I can just, well, honestly, I can just grab the same thing again and just do that out of here, scallywag. I can do this, I can go free transform and flip horizontal. Easy peasy. It's almost impossible to tell this is a replicating. If I scoot it in just a little bit, it's almost impossible to tell that we have a replicating pattern here because of how the wall gets in the way. So I can cheat a lot of this design space. I'm going to go over here to see if there's, nah, not really. We can just keep grabbing this. So we're just going to keep grabbing this. So I'm going to paste, and here I'm going to switch this one up by going free transform and then rotate 90 degrees. It's a lot faster for me just to do this cut and paste process here than for me to redraw all this terrain. So I'm just making short work for the assets that we've already produced for ourselves, to be able to just speed through this texturing process as fast as I can so that we can get to the more important detailed work. But once we get all this paste out here, like yonder, and then we can do this again, and free transform, and then rotate clockwise like this, and then drop this down into the corner here, and then I can merge all of these, and I can like grab a pocket of this, copy, paste, and then push that up over here like that. Merge that down, merge. And then we can grab this, copy, paste. And we can free transform, rotate 180 degrees, and drop that down here into this corner. So what we're going to do is we're going to lay down all this gravel first, and then like these areas are cobblestone or flagstones. So we see that we've got this color for flagstones, and so we'll be able to grab this and then drop in the color on top of all this flagstone, on top of all this grit. Have all this flagstone, like for instance, will be here like that, and I can just come here and like say grab this color here and then here. Cover that spot up there. And then erase out those bits there. Like have this basically like that. So we're doing a lot of add in and then tear out. And once we have pieces like that, then we can come back in and we can do all of this crystal grit texturing to be able to create this same sort of map effect. So that's where we're going. I'm not sure if I'm going to get the base colors in today or not, honestly. That's just what that's our current task at hand. So we're gonna be at this for a bit. I'm gonna go with this. We'll go with let's call this layer dirt, and we'll call this layer flagstone. There we go. And then let's grab some more dirt. Copy paste here. And go like free transform. Let's rotate this around like this, for instance. I think that's pretty good. And then see if we like how this sits together. Good enough. You can merge that down and we'll grab another piece. I don't know what kind of conversations I have in me tonight. It's been for D&D content producers, it's been a pretty emotional 48 hours with all this OGL stuff going down. As far as I understand, from what OBS and our DMsGuild liaisons are all saying, there's absolutely no changes to the DMsGuild agreement that I mean, WotC already gets a 25% chunk from us, well, a 30% chunk from us as it is. So it's not like they have any reason to be any more grabby about the kind of stuff they get off of DMsGuild content producers, and they already have full rights to gank anything that we produce on that channel, because that's the benefit that we get. The one irony there is that DMsGuild creators still get to fully reference any of the adventure content that Wizards of the Coast has produced to date, and we can include as much of that into our DMsGuild products as we want. And of course, Eberron is still inside Wizards' wheelhouse, so if I want to do any Eberron content like at all, it's going to have to be on DMsGuild, or it has to basically be on Patreon. And the possibility of me moving into a Patreon space where, you know, I'm producing stuff and then using the fan content policy, I can offer all that stuff for free, and if folks want to give me money, they certainly can. Obviously, we have a lot of content producers that are very successful with that model, so it's certainly something that I can move into. But for me personally, I've got about another 2 years worth of content that is directly relevant to what Wizards has already produced. Like most of my production work is based on improving the options that players and DMs have inside of Wizards of the Coast Adventures. There is no other place for me personally that it would make any sense for me to publish work than on the DMsGuild. Honestly, I'm pretty lucky when I get down to it, because I'm already used to getting shit shares of royalties. I only get 50% of the money that I produce anyway, and I'm still able to support a team of producers to work with me. I think once I actually move out of the DMsGuild into my own game space, I think the one D&D debate will have been resolved at that point. It'll be pretty easy for me to figure out where I need to land. But in the meantime, I just got to keep doing what I said I'm going to do. Because if I can't do what I said I'm going to do, then no one's going to believe that I can do what I want to do in the future either. So for me, this is like I just have to stay my course. Just keep producing the content that I'm ridiculously excited about producing. I'll love these different things that, you know, I've been streaming, and actually succeed at publishing them, and to live up to the standard that I've been promising for these things. Like it has to do good. So however long it takes for me to be able to produce that quality, I don't care how long it takes. Just accomplishing the goal and actually being able to provide a good product is the only thing that is important to me in all this debate. So I mean, technically none of this haberdashery has anything to do with me personally. I can certainly see how it's going to impact me in the future if I want to move out of the DMsGuild into my own IP and owning my own stuff. But again, that's like 2 years from now. The whole one D&D thing is going to be easily resolved by then. And it'll be pretty obvious. It should be at that point pretty obvious for how the market has changed, and there'll be plenty of feedback from other content producers of what their experience has been to date now. How is the new system affecting their creative process? So I'm going to basically just have the opportunity to stand on the shoulders of giants. And so I am very fortunate to not have to worry or stress about like having a mortgage based on this, or worrying about my kid's future on whether or not Wizard of the Coast starts coming up with weird fuckery or not. I've been immensely blessed. So best thing for me to do is just to stick to my integrity and keep doing what I said I was going to do. Yeah, today was draining. Yeah, it was. It was very draining. I'm going to grab like this here, and then I can drop that thing in there, and I can do a free transform, and I can rotate it. I'm really hoping all this leaking and an opportunity for everyone to pitch a fit is going to allow Wizards the opportunity to say just kidding and be able to play it off for jokes. And I honestly, if that's, if they want to save face and say that was just, some stuff we were experimenting with and it wasn't ever supposed to be in the public, we're not going to do that to you. If that's how they're going to backpedal and leave things in place, fantastic. Whatever you guys want to say to make yourself look good. I think it'd just be better for the community to allow people to continue producing as we have. That was some amazing good faith that was established with creating the OGL or the SRD, and I don't think. Get the hell out of here, Norton. No, I don't want you in my life. F the F off, yo. Anyway. Yeah, I honestly think everything's going to be okay. And if it's not okay, it's going to end up being okay. Which is, I don't know. Maybe people think that's self-serving and unsupportive of others that aren't in such a fortunate circumstance as I am. But I don't know, man. I just gotta do what I gotta do. We all gotta do just what we gotta do, and ultimately we just want to be able to produce good content and have it be properly represented. So I'm kind of yammering, but like I said, I'm kind of emotionally drained, so we're not necessarily going to get the best takes from a Phil today. 2-inch margin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Cool. So I'm going to. I was really fortunate to just snap out of it all of a sudden. Like, wait a second, this doesn't actually have anything to do with me right now. So, like, I get to sleep at night, I don't have to be traumatized by this whole thing. I haven't, like I said, my mortgage isn't counting on a license agreement that could potentially be revoked on me. I have been very, very protected in my incredibly casual, not ready to make a business out of this yet anyway sort of attitude. I think that is, again, I think that's just the muses protecting me from disaster. So we'll see how the world shapes up in the next 20 months, I guess. Pro. We need to do this and copy paste. I got some gaps along this line. I think I need to fix. There it is. Here. Here. Yeah. And now Bob's your uncle. Merge all merge. Merge it all down. Let's do the whole thing again. Nothing wrong with choosing stoicism to move forward. Well, I appreciate that, sir. I definitely appreciate all the rage, and I definitely don't like tomfuckery. But at the same time, you know what? I have spent a lot of time in my life allowing myself to become emotionally invested in fights that aren't actually my fight. And I think the best place I can be in the community right now is just sitting solid and not freaking out over shit, and certainly not throwing dirt at crap. I don't mind being let's just see how shit shakes out and find out what we actually need to be concerned about. Because I think the greatest thing that can come out of this is, like I said, Wizards just doing a full recant, haha, and never mind. We were just playing around with stuff anyway. We never wanted to insult all of you people. Please keep buying our crap. I think that'd be the best outcome of this possible. Like, I like that this stuff had been leaked. I like that we get to see people firing themselves up over, has Wizards really misjudged the good faith that the community has in their decision making. Not that Wizards gives a crap about anything that I think. They never return my calls. That's okay. They're busy people. I wouldn't have time for phone calls if I was constantly trying to take my foot out of my mouth either. Straighten this up. Nice. Work with that. Just erasing down the line to get rid of any of that additional grit. Get rid of all this grit too. You know what? One possibility coming out of all of this is if WotC did form a partnership with Kickstarter, there's an outside chance that you're going to be able to use WotC IP, like Curse of Strahd shit, in the Kickstarter campaign. Like, I'm giving WotC, 20% of my money if I do a Kickstarter? On the DMsGuild, I'm already giving up 50%. If there's a possibility that the back end of this, I can give Wizards 20% of my money and be able to use, like, say, the Ravnica setting for me to do a Kickstarter campaign, and then I go, hey, I'm going to do a 200-page Ravnica omnibus, and I'm going to put original artwork in all of it. And then I market that to the Reddit audience that was really into Ravnica for a couple months. I think I could probably pull $40,000 out of that. And if I have to, give up $8,000 of that to Wizards, and then I have to give up another $4,000 of that to Kickstarter itself, that still leaves me with $28,000 to do artwork and draw something and write a book that I was going to do anyway and publish on the DMsGuild and only get half of the money back for it. Bring that on, man. I don't mind having this shitty little small income business of mine be able to just be comfortable with not making shit for money. For when Wizards opens up the space for me to be able to make a crap load of money, I'm super cool with that, man. If I can build a business with losing half of my revenue up front, if I can build a sustainable business that does that, man, you give me any extra percentage and I'm hiring people. That's sick, dude. That is super freaking sick. I want to be able to build a successful business where I can quit my day job. off of DMsGuild royalty fees. Screw you, Oofus. God, if I can pull that off, I could literally do anything in the TTRPG industry on my own terms and be able to make stupid bank. Like, I am actually looking forward to this challenge of, is this like something that we can actually accomplish? It's, bring it on, man. I am kind of looking forward to that. Let me make sure I got my space here right. I think I can afford to. Yes, just like that. Sounds rad. Oh, watch, see, he's playing hard to get. What is that? Oh, what is that mouth? What is that mouth thing? What are you doing? Can you help me think of a name for a feature? It allows a class to attack with a force construct greatsword and ignore armor class boosting spells like mage armor, like a spell pierce or something. How about spell cleave? There's also there's abjuration. There's the arcane shield. I'll run with it. I like it. Spell cleave. Right on, dude. Almost sounds like a feat, right? Like you hit with this weapon and it disrupts, like it does a general dispel on whatever target you hit. That sounds more like what the mechanics for something called spell cleave would be, but you might already have that covered. I reckon we're talking about your anti-mage or the anti-caster or mage slayer. That's the word I'm trying to use. Does sound like a feat. Yeah, it does sound like one. Let's see if I can come up with something better. What about, there's the Lance of Disruption, which is a shield, which is a spell effect. It's a force damage range spell effect from Forgotten Realms. I forget which, it was 2nd edition, but I don't think, maybe Lance of Disruption got published in Tasha's. I don't remember. Now I'm actually compelled to find out. Hold on real quick. Let's look at our Master Expanded spell list and see if we can find. This is an example of one of the things that I drop in my mana books. It's a full roster of all spells in the game, and the color that each spell is assigned to. So let's see if I can find. Oh no, Lance of Disruption's not in here. Interesting. Psychic Lance, huh? Fizzman's Trove of Treasury of Dragons. That's where that one is from. Right on. I forgot the other part of the feature. It allows an auto crit if the attack roll is X above the, and that target's armor class doesn't get to include any abjuration. Is it just force effects, or is it also things like Bark Skin, for instance, which is a transmutation spell, which won't allow your armor class to be below 16, if I'm not mistaken. Any spell that... Oh, okay, so it's any spell that affects armor class. Huh. Now that has a piercing sort of... A piercing sort of vibe, like... I need to drop the opacity on this dirt so I can start dropping cobblestone in on top of it. I need to make sure. Like that is almost the identical value as what we've faded. So I need to darken the dirt a bit so I can see the ground underneath it. I can pull off more, but still see the actual line work. All right. This is going to be busy. So, plenty of time for me to yammer with you. Spell Piercer. Spell Cleave. Let's see. Arcane. Mana Yeet, Destructive Wave, Ensorcelled Pummel. I'm just throwing out words. I don't assume any of them are any good. Maybe I should separate the two effects. Intrude, Overwhelm, because I like Spell Pierce for the AC spell part. Right. Well, happy to inspire you there, man. Yeah, stacking up abilities, it's kind of tricky. You kind of have to, if you have a really clear cost per resource sorted out, it makes it a lot easier for you to decide, if you can afford to split up the, sorry, let me add better context than that. Like the Martial Powers book that I've been doing, I have a shitload of reactions and exploits that's like spend a point of mana, do this thing. But I have it so granularly separated that even though, like, say, gaining advantage on a strength check is super useful if, say, you're really into wrestling and you have the opportunity to use a grappling check with your strength check frequently. But outside of that, it's like you might only have 20 mana at 20th level, depending on what class you are. That is a huge commitment of your resources just to get an advantage on a strength check. So, although the cost value for the single point of mana for a strength check boost like that might be statistically on point as far as like what a first level spell should be able to provide for you as an instant effect. But if you only get 15 powers over the course of 20 levels, it might be good value to spend on that if you kit your build into wrestling, but it would not be a good value to spend 1 out of 15 feats on just gaining an advantage on strength checks when you need to as a first level spell cost. So I have to go through and assess how many of these things are directly affecting strength, and can I fold them together so that maybe you don't get just like one thing, you get more than one thing. Like you get advantage on strength check and dexterity checks. On top of it, say you get +2 on both strength and dexterity saving throws. Like that might be worth spending a point on. Like not only do you get advantages on strength, there it is. Not only do you get advantage on strength and dexterity checks, but you also, if you spend the point, can instead gain a point. You can gain advantage on a strength or dexterity saving throw. Like those are 4 die rolls you can modify, but you have to pick from that list. I'm going to spend a first level spell slot to make 1 die roll for these 4 things. If those 4 things bring enough value together as options that serve your kit of powers for the kind of power fantasy you want your character to accomplish, then that's going to be really good value. On your side, it sounds like you might be having something do too much for its value. But if this is like a mid to later level ability, that might actually be a pretty reasonable mix of options, like stack of benefits for the character to gain. It's just a matter of how soon do they get it, and is it going to remain reliable and consistently useful from when your character gets it up through 20th level. And if it continues to retain value at any tier of play upon gaining it, then that's a good opportunity for you to assess, well, maybe we need to break it up or maybe nerf one of the aspects of it. So I don't know how you have things balanced out yet. I know you've just started working on it, and that might be something you're still debating. And that's the debate I have with myself, one of many. Well, Mage Slayers ain't easy, dude. If Mage Slayers were easy, Wizards would have done it already. If Wizards has taught us anything, if they don't bother producing rules for it, it's because it's not easy. And so if somebody actually does, and this is I think that's my biggest testimony towards DMsGuild. Like, if you can't find the rules for it printed in official Wizards of the Coast content, but people are producing it on producing solutions on the DMsGuild, it's because there needs to be a freaking solution, and you can almost guarantee that the people on the DMsGuild put a lot more energy into it than Wizards was ever willing to. So they're definitely worth looking at. Which, plug my own shit, is why I like to make all my stuff 100% free preview. So you have the opportunity to assess that for yourself and decide, well, yeah, actually Phil's got a damn good solution. So, trying to stay friendly with the base. Erase a little line here that I found. But I have to constantly plug my own work because who the hell else is going to do it? Power! So what do you got? For sure, I realized a few months ago how ambitious this concept is. Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. Well, the great thing is that you're building it out as a class, which means that you can afford to power budget into it because you can eat up. You've got a really wide palette of class features that you can build into what you're attempting to accomplish. Like, I've got some Mage Slayer stuff in my Martial Powers project, but they can't be any more powerful than what a spell would be of the same level as a half-caster. So I have to be a lot more conservative in what I offer with each option, because you're stacking Mage Slayer options on top of a Paladin, for instance. Like, Paladin needs more options. No. So I have to be super delicate about what I'm introducing into my system. You have an incredibly wide open palette for you to be able to use and abuse. Like, you can go if you go with a barbarian resource, like a rage effect, like an anti-magic aura as a rage ability. And then while you have your aura active, you can do all these horrible things to casters or people that use the magic action. Then you can basically scaffold your entire character off of what kind of power budget does a barbarian get, which can get really freaking sick really quick. You could actually borrow. I'm kind of actually geeking on that idea, not to push you in one direction or another, but like if you were going like for a full martial class, that's a Mage Slayer, exploring the barbarian kit or the barbarian scaffold. It's actually a really fun way to go. Because barbarians are already, like, anti-magic, but, like, this is, like, kill you magic. Like, first edition barbarians were, like, seriously, they got experience point for destroying magic items and killing mages. Like, specifically killing magic users. Like, if you take if you cut off a wizard's head and then snap his staff of power over your knee, that's like, you can gain a level off of that. It's ridiculous. One of you had a lot of gold in it. It was, a lot of cool ideas. They didn't necessarily execute the mechanics well, but the flavor was amazing. I need to get rid of my lines. 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 Sorry, I can't listen to licensed music, so I'm finding that I end up singing it to myself. That's kind of sloppy. I need to fix that line work. Fucker. Forgot about what? I was talking about a lot of shit there. I want to just make sure I'm still in contact. But yeah, I don't know what your primary engine is yet. So if that's something you're still figuring out, I would say an alternate rage transformation option is reliable and pretty cool. Yeah. Yeah, just go check out the Unearthed Arcana from first edition. It's worth your time just to thumb through it. My God, that is, if you ever want to talk about what was the attitude in first edition about followers, like look at a 13th level barbarian, like they can summon like 20,000, like a barbarian horde of like 20,000 berserkers. It's freaking ridiculous how wargame that D&D was assumed to be way back when it was created. Like it was like very much literally, let's role play some crack commando team in our army breaking into the underbelly of this castle so they can sabotage the front gate. So when we do have our Warhammer battle simulation on our table, it's going to start off with the drawbridge drop because your SWAT team went in and destroyed that as part of a D&D campaign. Like that is very much how first edition approached characters. Like, we don't care who your character is, we care about what that character achieved. Very, very, very different game. So it wasn't like those characters weren't about accumulating personal power at all. Those characters were more about just surviving long enough to be able to create a stronghold and attract followers. And once you get to that point, you've got a solid, like a literal foothold in the campaign world. The DM can just riff off of that by threatening the space that the characters control, or create new challenges that are on par with the size of the following that they've accumulated at whatever level they're at. So, like if you want to talk about power balance differences, sorry, I'm on a followers tear again because I love talking about mass combat. The Sohi at level 6 got up to 30 fighting monks. At 6th level, your Sohi could establish a temple and then have 30 freaking characters, like PCs, like first level PCs, as your followers to go roll up on any 6th level adventure and just decimate them with your troops. Like 30 guys with naginatas and some reed armor backed by your Sohei throwing heals on people. Oh my god, what a nightmare that was. Oriental Adventures was an insane book. But that really highlighted just like, take a 6th level wizard compared to that Sohi, you better hope that wizard hits all his fighting monks. Because if any of them survive that fireball, your wizard is shredded. Because a wizard doesn't get gets D4 apprentices at level 12. By then the Sohi has like 140 fighting monks following him around, tearing dragons apart. It's insane. It's insane. Such a different game. So when you're looking at like the Unearthed Arcana and the classes in the Unearthed Arcana, like the Barbarian and the Ranger, the Cavalier, like the stack of abilities that they get are insane. Because by the time the Unearthed Arcana came out, TSR was starting to realize that class features are something that people are willing to buy into. It was interesting. It was very interesting. So those early classes didn't really think much about balance. They were more thinking about flavor and what's something cool that we think is befitting the level of character they are. Not so much what's the power behind this. What is this OP compared to a cleric or not? It was just, is this a kick-ass class feature for a 15th level barbarian to have? And if it is, give it to them. And, balance who gives a damn. So it's neat looking back through those older editions just to see what they're like, how they envisioned the different power fantasies and the different character tropes back then. Because like the Book of the Nine Swords in 3rd edition, for example, is like 300 martial instant effects that you can trawl through for almost an infinite number of feats, class features, magic items effects, whatever. Anywhere you need a feature, you can pull anything from 3rd or 4th edition. And because there was just so much character power saturation, and there were so many books produced to be able to showcase them all, it's like there's just ridiculous amounts of content in there. And if it's something that can inspire you to it might be a good idea for you to look at Magic of Incarnum. And Vestiges from the Tome of Magic, 3rd edition. Because those had fun, off-martial, sort of like Pact Boon sort of options that were built into them. That the vestiges had a lot of shutdown or that battlefield control type effects, and Incarnum was basically permanizing magic items by connecting magical energy to the chakras inside your body. If you're going to buy into that chakra system, that's the system that they use to replace like instead of attuning to when you attune to a magic item, you bolt it onto one of your chakras, and now your body fuels the magic of that attuned item. For instance, there's been I think probably 4 or 5 books that have come out on the DMs Guild that translate Incarnum already, but you're just looking for inspiration for different class features for Mage Slayers. So it doesn't really matter what other people have produced on the DMs Guild at this point, because you're not actually translating that body of work. You're ganking ideas out of it, so it doesn't have to conform to any other 5e standards other than the ones that you create for yourself. Magic items that you attune to and they grow in power with you. Not an original concept, but the name is spot on. There was also Legacy. What was it? Legacy weapons, which was when you gained levels, the magic item would gain levels with you as well, which kind of led the way to the 4th edition approach of you automatically gain a magic item, any kind that you want whenever you gain a level. It was kind of like pick a feat. You also picked a magic item that you wanted, which kind of made looting absolutely pointless, because there's nothing to loot. You're automatically going to get whatever level appropriate gear you want because you're playing 4th edition, which is actually a point that doesn't get mentioned a lot when people are talking about the edition wars and why didn't 4E do so well? Because 4E eliminated almost all of the rewards of gaining a level. You have a very tight list of class features that you can choose from at each level, regardless of what class it is that you chose. It's going to be the same kind of class feature, regardless of which class you choose. It's going to either be a daily, per encounter, or a at-will ability, or a ritual. And they're all going to have basically the same mechanical flavor. So you don't really have any character class options. There are feats, but again, the magic items are non-options. Just tell me what you want, you automatically get it. So there is no reward in claiming a dragon's hoard, for instance, or defeating a demon and being able to pilfer his treasures from the past 30,000 years. It's they destroyed all sources of customization and how is your character standing out? What can you point to that your character accomplished? It's you don't have any. There's no trophy system, and without any kind of trophies or ability to say I earned this, I took this, it just makes for a weaker edition. You gotta really understand. And I harp at Wizards a lot about this for hiring console gamers instead of role players, but you really got to understand what excites the player's base, and the kind of surveys that they put out asking for information. They're not necessarily even aware of what the right questions are. I don't claim to know what the right questions are. I just know that the questions really need to be more about the feel. What's the where do you feel a sense of accomplishment in this game? What happens in game that makes you feel the worst about your character? What do you dread happening the most when something's taken from you? How much does that impact you? Really, I think they need to be asking really nitty-gritty basic questions like that. So when they decide to make changes to the 5e machine, they can be addressing these emotional, visceral responses that players have. So they can start crafting rewards and threats to attack the player, not their characters. Get the player thinking about, God, this is important to me personally. So I'm willing to do X, Y, and Z to make sure that I can retain this, for instance. So it's very hypothetical conversation. It's pretty ambiguous. I really question if the one D&D play testing and questionnaires that are coming out with it are going to be able to glean the kind of information necessary to actually build a better game. Like I like the mechanical revisions that they're introducing, like spellcasters gaining spells at first level, even if they're a half caster. I think that's a freaking great idea. We were talking on Discord about like all the great pieces about one D&D testing that we've seen so far that are actually legitimately good versus just like, you know, they're nerfing this class too much or whatever. That's certainly a thing, but yeah, I don't think they're connecting to the players. Like the actual, like if you want to figure out how to microtransaction your audience and get all these players to spend a couple bucks, because let's face it, the bulk of people that play D&D are college or younger, which means they got zero cash, which is why only DMs generally are buying content. It could be a whole team. Like our team, when I was in my 20s, we would pool our cash and we'd all just buy one book, the book that we needed. Like we want to really lean into Dark Sun in 1994. So let's all chip in $3 and buy The Way and the Will. For instance, the expanded Psionic books that they came out with 2nd edition after Dark Sun released. Or like Air, Earth, Fire, Water, the Elemental Clerics book for Dark Sun. Like 2 of us bought, like we split the cost on it. Because we had 3 roommates. There's 3 of us, and we just had a library of D&D books. Because we were all on the same team together, and you know we got drunk together and you know chased girls and all that stuff. So like we were like legit. We were a legit wolf pack, and there wasn't anything that was going to get between us. And they're still my best friends. So point proven. Like us sharing the cost of a book, it's not like anyone's getting burned there. So I don't necessarily even know if like saying the D&D, like the only person that actually spends money on a book is the DM. It makes sense that the DM is the one that purchases of anybody at the table. If someone's going to make a purchase, it makes the most sense that it would be the DM, because the DM is the one that's allowing what content sources are going to be in the campaign. So she's got to have eyes on what that content is no matter what. But there's no guarantee where that money is actually coming from. So I think that's also a potential misread, another misread that one D&D isn't really fishing out. But I don't know. I only have anecdotal experience. It's not like I have marketing data to back this up, and they may be able to prove that they're on the right path. I don't know. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. Do you know if Matt Mercer based vestiges of Divergence on... I don't know. The only thing I know about Matt Mercer is he likes to make blood and cut-based classes, and the Echo Knight is poorly constructed. So I kind of stopped paying attention to his stuff. I think he designs for rule of cool and doesn't really care about the impact. Like he doesn't play a game for mechanics. He runs an improvisation comedy team that happens to roll dice between jokes. So I respect what they've accomplished, but what they have accomplished is not good game design. So couldn't tell you. Never paid attention. Once he lost me, I don't look anymore. So folks are welcome to unsubscribe now if they want. But you know, if you like the candor and you like the mapping, I would recommend that you subscribe instead. Because I've got a shitload of content that I produced, and YouTube doesn't really understand how to engage with long-form design streams like this. It's not a short, and the conversation pieces come out after hours of sticking around and just hanging out on stream with me, and that's when the arble starts to come out. So the best way for YouTube to understand that more people should see my shit is by liking, subscribing, sharing, and watching any of the playlist streams that I've been producing for the different content that I make. And now that I have successfully plugged my work, there's a link down below that leads you to the DMsGuild where you can buy my books and read them all for free. And if you decide that you like them, maybe you'll purchase some. So I appreciate your support. Back to our regularly chaotic conversation. And I agree that the most streamed games are more like improv groups than D&D groups. Well, I don't remember who it was that was saying it, but people don't want to watch actual play D&D. No one wants to watch a 3-minute debate on the on surprise rules again for the third time in 6 levels. They don't want to sit through. Hold on, real quick. Let me look up how this spell works. Like, it's just not entertaining. And even something that is incredibly narratively driven, like Critical Role or D20, it's just the instant it slows down into mechanics, I completely lose any interest. It's like, if I want to have a mechanical argument, I've got my own. I've got 2 games a week. I can go and waste that energy on. I don't want to watch strangers have that same argument that I can have personally later on, like tomorrow. So, but call me bitter. I dare you, call me bitter. I think Chris Perkins is a better DM. Just my opinion. Oh, Chris Perkins, a better DM than Mercer. Right on. I think he's what he does. Acquisitions Inc. Right? That's his own personal flavor. I think the related subject, the home base rules that they've teased are going to be included in one D&D. Being that it's Chris Perkins that's creating the book, I think they're just cutting and pasting the guild rules they have in Acquisition Inc. It's basically just an extended list of downtime activities that you can offload to NPCs that follow you, so that you can have downtime activities being performed while your characters are off and adventuring. It's hardly a new concept, but it was executed to adequate degree in the Acquisitions Inc. book. No coincidence, the Guilds and Kingdoms book that I've been developing that goes alongside the Spelljammer Combat Exploration and my Descent into Avernus translation, my Dragonlance translation, and the Squads and Armies book that I had been streaming prior to Spelljammer. Those all use similar. Oops, that's not a completed circle. Cool. That also uses extended downtime activity mechanics. So it's structured differently. It's a bit more crunchy than anything Wizard of the Coast would. I mean, because Wizard of the Coast is like the king of soft mechanics. So I have something that's a little bit more crunchy in there, but incredibly satisfying. It's super cool to build up followers one way or another, and then assign them tasks for them to run off and do stuff that you can resolve with an ability check roll. And then at the end of whatever your characters are doing that day or that adventure, to be able to feed them the results of whatever those tasks that you outsourced and like what the results of those were, and use those, whether successful or not, as adventure hooks to lead into the next adventure. Like, you can easily fuel a 1 to 20 campaign without having to worry about stalling if you do implement Guilds and Kingdom mechanics, whether mine or somebody else's. Honestly, it doesn't matter whose. It's that infrastructure that you develop as your character gains power, it absolutely grounds them into the campaign world, regardless of how large the campaign world is. Because as your organization creates trouble for your characters, obviously the benefits have to be strong enough for them to want to endure the harassment of having like property that can be destroyed, for instance. That's a big commitment to most edgelords that like to be orphans. The last thing they want to do is have a restaurant chain that can get targeted by an enemy cooking organization that wants you dead, so they start poisoning all your food or something. Like, these are things that edgelord sort of standalone characters are less interested in. But I have seen over and over again how ridiculously committed players a team can get to an NPC that has like a shop that's down on, like, nothing fuels characters, like 6th level characters or above, like them being able to use all of their resources, like all of their vast, disgusting character resources to like make this the best bakery in town. I have yet to run across a team that had that opportunity that would pass it up. And once they actually start getting their feet in there, they will dump feats and skills and spell selection, and they will rework their skills to become the best goddamn baker in town, like in this kingdom. Be the best, because players love planting their flags in just like the most meaningless garbage. That's that shenanigan tier. It's when your characters, okay, I'll tell you this. When characters are steeped in the tier of shenanigans, it's because they're real. Excuse me, I gotta fix my pillows. I sit on pillows on my chair, so sometimes they fall off when I get all dancy in my seat. So anyway, when your characters get overly invested in the shenanigan pillar of play, it's because they're bored or intimidated by either what they think they have to do next and they don't feel they're ready to do it, or they don't know what they're supposed to do next. They're so frustrated they don't want to ask, so they just start goofing off, hoping that whatever chaos they cause forces you as the DM to give them the next plot point just to make them stop. So a real power that DMs can develop is learning to embrace the shenanigans. Like if your team needs an emotional and mental break from what you have built to be a overly intense emotional game for people, whether it's because they feel like if the subject matter was a little bit more intense than they expected, or a little triggery, but they believe in the game and they love their friends, so they're going to stick around. Or if they are the type of players that like actually commit to the goals of their characters in the game and want to use like execution of whatever this objective is as a representation of what they as a person, as a player is like. Like my table did that all the time. All the quests that we would choose and the type of heroes we played were reflections of the type of people we wish we were in real life, but with superpowers. So we always ended up being somebody that was looking out for, like, is this community being treated well? Is this guy just, we stumbled into you, we had a beer, you seem like a cool guy, you're down on your luck, what can we do that's not going to put us, that's not going to get us out of our homes, but we can invest to help this person to make their life better, because it'll end up paying us back in dividends, but in the meantime, we can just be proud that we were able to help somebody. Like, those were the type of people that play at my table. And that was such an experience for me to be able to start assessing the quality of person a player is based on how they what kind of characters they run. Like I get like some people like to play evil characters because they like to have the cathartic release of being violent at somebody. But if you're like 3 campaigns in, like if you've ran 1 to 20 campaigns with somebody, you're now 3rd level on the 3rd campaign with this guy, and he still likes to run up and stab people in the throat just cuz. Guys, that guy's leaning way too much into that lifestyle, and I'm going to work him out of my table. He's going to go away. And I'm going to find somebody else that I would trust, to walk into my house while I'm asleep. I'm going to find that guy and invite him to play with me. But if your team gets overly, if they get overly, especially emotionally exhausted, or if they get lost inside the storyline, that's when you start seeing that shenanigan pillar come out. And because they don't know what they're supposed to do next, or they really don't want to take on what they think is supposed to be next. So I don't know. Let's just make this a badass shoe shop instead. That's shenanigan stuff, and it's fun, and we can laugh about it, and we can stop worrying about life for a few minutes. DM's got to pay attention to that kind of shit when it crops up. It's important. We were talking about your sword. It's a magic sword, so you create like a sword of energy, and that energy cuts through any kind of magical shielding. Do you have a favorite Loading. Hey, Loading. Nice to meet you, man. I think Chris Perkins is... I'm the worst. when I'm seeing names over here, I don't even really like look at the names. I just see the text for some stupid reason. I don't. Thank you. Welcome to the channel. Do I have a favorite pre-written module? Do you mean like from 5th edition specifically, or from an earlier edition? I would say from 2nd edition, my favorite module was Oasis of the White Palm, because it had this fantastic dungeon that was a buried temple, and it had a big Egyptian theme. It was all Qadim campaign setting, so it had this great Middle Eastern flavor to it, and it had this Egyptian temple that was buried under sand, and when so your characters had to rappel like 200 feet down a hole to get to the place in the first, and this is like an 8th level adventure and for like 2nd edition. So they had to rappel down this deep hole just to get into the dungeon in the first place, which means they have to climb their way 200 feet back up, or the wizard's gonna have to spend a shitload of spell castings to levitate to get the team out of there, which means that it's dangerous for them to be down there. There's no resting spots. So they have to be super careful about how they're using their resources down there. And it was multiple levels. There was multiple traps, a lot of them involving like light manipulation and pressure traps. But one of the fun class features was there was this giant central shaft, and there was portals at the top and bottom, like the game Portal, like by Valve, that like you go through one portal and you come out the other. So it was just an infinite elevator that you could just step off a ledge and you go, and you can land, and then you can land on another level of the dungeon. But there was mummies, I think there was like a magic sword, a Leomund's treasure, a Leomund's magic chest, a secret chest, Leomund's sacred chest, and then like 2 mummies that were just free falling. So if your character, like if you have to rappel down from one level to the next, or climb up to the next level before you figure out what this portal thing is, while you're doing this rope work, you've got mummies flipping by trying to grab hold of you, and they're either going to pull you off the wall, or they're grappling you and you can't move anymore and you're stuck on your rope, and they just start mummy rotting you. So there was this it was an isolating space. It was difficult to get to for the level of adventure that you're at. It taxed your resources by locking you into the place and not allowing you to get out easily. It had difficult to traverse from one space to another, so you had to kind of commit to where you were going to go to another level. You couldn't just back out of it easily. And once you started figuring out the tricks and the like all the trickery stuff that was inside of the dungeon, it made it fun to be able to like use that teleportation, like that portal thing to like set up shots, like if you have like a lot of hold on, sorry, something went wonky in my design here. I misjudged my lines. This is like that, and see, this line shouldn't be here. So yeah, I just need to get rid of that line. Sorry, quick tangent. In 5th edition, though, because you probably weren't talking about 2nd edition at all. In 5th edition, what has become my favorite adventure is Descent into Avernus, but only because of the command mechanics that we've been playtesting for the past 15 months. Because we've been using Descent into Avernus as our testing ground to make sure that the mechanics all work. So the way that we rebuilt Descent into Avernus is that your character's goal is to go around hell and accumulate power. And if you have to sell pieces of your soul, so be it. But each devil lord has objectives that they want to achieve, and if you achieve them, they'll give you troops. So you can accumulate troops over time that become strong enough and large enough that you can keep the demons and the devils that are fighting the blood war on the chains of Elturel. You can actually push them off of Elturel, so you can secure a safe spot for what's left of Elturel hanging over the river Styx. And then from there, you can train the citizens that have survived to this point in El Terrell, you can train them to become shock troops as well. And at some point, like around level 13, your characters accumulate enough power that you can, for a time, be a third faction fighting the Blood War in Avernus while you're trying to free, spoiler alert, El Terrell to return back to the material plane. And we were playtesting level 15 about the time Spelljammer came out. So we also then had the opportunity to convert the Infernal War Machines into fighter ships, and Zariel's Flying Blade into a melee-focused Spelljammer ship, and then the Mad Maxine, the Night Hag, who's introduced as an NPC that can provide you with resources like repair your Infernal War Machine and provide you with magic items or spell scrolls if needed. Either by trading junk or by giving up pieces of your soul or selling captives to her for her to either possess or to steal their soul, depending on the ethics of your team, of course. But Mad Maxine can, if you say defeat the Hell Wasp nest, and you've accumulated trucks from fighting different Mad Max squads, then you have a small convoy of vehicles that Mad Maxine can then take newly spawning Hell Wasps and flesh meld them to the Infernal War Machines so they become flying ships, kind of like that TV show Lex. If you ever saw that, all the spaceships in Lex were living insects that were kind of like in Dark Sun, sculpted to serve as vehicles for the necrosculptors that dominated that game, or that inside Lex they had these flesh sculptors that created these things. And so we were able to do that, and then Belle, who wants you to recover the original Flying Blade that got wrecked and fell into the river Styx. If you can retrieve that ship for Belle, it has a spelljamming helm in it, just like Zariel's does. So you can get a full 500-foot vessel to fight Zariel on equal terms at the 500-foot scale of combat, flying over El Terrell, which is a 10 by 10 space because it's a mile large square. You can check earlier playtests of this channel, not of this one. This is Eberron, but the Spelljammer playlist that I have shows some of the playtesting we did, fighting Zariel and swarms of demons over El Terrell, defending it from the enemy. It's not the actual playtest itself. My playtest team hasn't signed off on me making the tests public for people to view, but all the setup, like the DM notes and the map creation and my comments on how you conduct that battle, and all the statistics that go into the size of the different, if a swarm of 100 imps, how many hit points can that deal on damage per round, and its movements and all that yada yada. All that shit is structured out for you, which will eventually be put into a DMsGuild product, and it'll be in command of Avernus, and it'll be all these mechanics to use Squadron Command, Kingdom Command, because you become the default military ruler of El Terrell since you're saving the city from hell. You're kind of in charge while you're down there, and the city council just signs off on this. Yeah, you're the boss. Tell us what to do. We're on board. So you get to use the guild mechanics with various factions. You get to use the kingdom mechanics by controlling El Terrell. You get to use Spelljammer and Infernal War Machines for fighter ships, so you can have an aerial campaign instead of just on the ground once you get past level 7, and you get the Hell Wasp nest. And then eventually you help Belle, and he gives you the spelljamming helm. And our team in our playtesting had taken on a 200-foot long, what was it? The word I'm looking for is, it was a purple worm. It was a 200-foot purple worm, and they flew out on infernal fighter ships, and the Infernal War Machines, if you know them, they have these shredding spinning blades. So you basically have a stack of 6 wasp wings that are 15-foot wingspans, and you've got this like this metal machine that's got people with harpoon Gatling guns on the back, and this buzzsaw in the front. So whoever the pilot would basically just roll it up, which is basically like grind its blades that are spinning into the side of this massive purple worm that had like 2,000 hit points or whatever. And it was 200 feet, so like a 4x4 space of 50-foot squares. And the team is trying to grind through it. And like if it bites you, it can swallow your entire truck, like your entire crew, your truck, everything with it. It would swallow it and start dealing acid damage. So they had to saw their way out of its body. Oh my god, it was awesome. And when they killed it, they built a Spelljammer ship out of it. And that's what they used to fight Zariel at level 15. And at that point, the campaign is over because you've been able to save Elturel. But you could then offer the option of, hey, this is actually why Zariel came down here in the first place, to fight the Blood War toe-to-toe. You've proven it can be done, and she's impressed. She wants to be your ally from level 15 to 20, while you carve out a chunk of Avernus as a beachhead for Heaven to come in and start setting up a base of operations there to fight anything that comes out, and to start negotiating with swords against whatever demon lord thinks that they can negotiate. So like that is a super freaking cool campaign. So we still have to flesh out the 15 to 20 level stuff, like the Heaven on Earth, Heaven and Hell expansion. But we have the capability, we have the technology. And I have the chops to do it because I did it already. So anyway, both of these sound epic. Well, hey, I mean, if you haven't liked and subscribed yet, this is what I talk about. I stream every day in the morning before I go into my job. I do a coffee morning stream where I do cartography and talk about crazy crap like this. The Spelljammer stream is up to like 40 episodes. And there's also the In Command of Armies, Guilds, and Kingdoms playtest stream or development stream that I have that I put on hold because of Spelljammer. So once Spelljammer finishes, I'm just going to go back into that playlist and start updating that content, because we learned a lot of really neat lessons in Spelljammer about how to more efficiently control large quantities of people. Because our Spelljammer mechanics allow you to command squadrons of either fighter ships, like 15-foot fighter flitters or whatever, or squadrons of like hammer ships or other full-size vessels. You've got small craft and you've got vessels. Vessels are anywhere from 50 to 500 feet in size normally. And then you got fighter craft, which are anywhere from 10 to 50 feet in size. The fighter craft can use a minor helm, which only costs 500 gold, but can only travel 1 million miles per day, as opposed to a full-size major helm vessel, which can move up to 500 feet worth of ship and can travel at the 100 million miles per day. So the fighter craft aren't good for journeying to other worlds or to other systems, but you can they're so small, you can clip them, you can dock them to full-size vessels and have that vessel carry you to wherever your destination is, and then you could distribute your fleet and start fighting at the 50-foot scale on all these fighter craft that, even though they're slower than the full vessels, they can still move 100 miles per round. It's like each square is 10 miles. Like, they can really freaking fly. And we have the mechanics for conducting combat like that, as though all of your characters... It's basically our Spelljammer mechanics allow you to operate as though you are a large-size creature. At the 5-foot scale, a large or a huge-sized creature that has hover, like as though you were a dragon. And then you can also populate your space with riders, like dragon riders, that have their own weapons that you can spend your attacks per round or your action economy to have them target something and attack at it. Like, I could claw bite and use up my melee attacks, and I could, like, say, use a bonus action to command my my trebuchet team to fire at a target that's within range that they can see, for instance. So I can break up my character's action economy to operate as though it were like the pilot of a Spelljammer ship imbues and animates that ship so it becomes a living creature controlled by the mind of the pilot. So if your paladin is your pilot, then your ship can smite by taking like one of its landing gears and punching it through the enemy like a piercing blade, and then upscale a spell slot through it to smite for like 5d10 times 10 damage and banish that ship. So that's the kind of crap that we're doing. But this is a 550 foot or 5 foot scale of map that all uses the same 5e mechanics we already know. But it's fucking awesome because it's like, I have a Scorpion ship. That Scorpion ship has 2 ballistas and 1 trebuchet on it, and it's got 2 piercing claws, and it can walk. So if I put a ranger on that Scorpion ship and then drop Hunter's Mark onto whatever ship it is that you're stalking right now, man, you can just dump weapon fire into it until you get within range, clamp onto it, and then just start stabbing your legs into it each round until the thing just gets eviscerated and the ship breaks up. And then you can send your team in at the 5 foot scale to basically pop, clean up anybody that's still in there, take the ship, use fabricate to repair the vessel, and you've just added another vessel to your fleet. And you can continue to build up a fleet of privateers to fight against the Skrull, the Zaraxus elves, the Illithid, whatever faction in astral space or wild space, or like in this example, Avernus for Descent into Avernus, or in command of Avernus, if you would. That's the kind of crap we want to be able to bring to the table for people. And it's going to take us a while to get it all produced, but it'll all be 100% free preview on DMsGuild. You'll be able to read the entire thing. It's just going to have like this map, for instance, I'm doing for Eberron. Like, this is the type of thing I put into a zip file. So when you play this adventure that we're creating, you can just peel open these assets and just drop them into the Roll20 VTT or Foundry or whatever the hell else is that you want to play, Rodeo or whatever. It's super low resolution. It's just 100 DPI image file, so it's pretty easy to manage. But we have all the the Spelljammer Combat and Exploration book that we're producing. It has like we had to develop how to the ecology of unnatural creatures that exist in space. Like if there's like a colony of I don't know, seahorses, like space horses, right? Like Pegasi, like unnatural Pegasi that don't have to breathe, and their field to graze on is a ring, like Saturn's ring. It's a ring of asteroids that has grass growing on the top and the bottom of it. So these Pegasi don't have to breathe, but they can fly from asteroid to asteroid, eating grass all day. And when a scaver comes by, a space shark looking for easy prey, then they all run off. They can all gallop off as a herd to get away from the scavers, and stuff like we have mechanics for all that shit. Like that's what we're bringing to the table. So we have assets for scaver tokens, all the ship tokens, all the maps for Light of Zaraxus that we've been building. All that stuff is added into the book. So you can read the whole thing, recognize the value of the mechanics that I'm talking about, see that they're actually pretty damn easy to use. And it's like, well, I should throw this guy money because it's awesome, but I can also get all the shit that he's showing that is available for you to make all this stuff work. Basically drag, drop, click, and play. Super freaking easy. So hopefully the playtest team will sign off on having at least some of that content put up, so you guys can have an opportunity to, once the thing publishes, to see how they're tearing up the world, and how you can blend these different scales of combat and to create different types of adventure than what would have taken. I mean, Wizards spent apparently 2 years developing that board game for Dragonlance, and it's like what, $90 to buy it on top of the Dragonlance books. The combat, the squads and armies books that we're going to put out that uses these same ideas is going to translate all of the battles in the board game and all of the battles in the actual campaign book into this military squad 50, 500 foot and 1 mile scale, so that you can have an actual line of scrimmage in your battle be actually units that you can manipulate and move that line of scrimmage yourself by pushing units to another area of the map, so you can gain zone control. So you can capture the flag or whatever the stupid mission is that they assign to you, and then we'll be able to provide you with how you can create your own battle situations, because it's as easy as it's as easy to create a war conflict at any scale above 5 feet. It's as easy to do as to build, like, say, a 6th level team fighting 8 ogres. It's the same level of complexity. Or like a first level party fighting 5 kobolds. It's the same level of difficulty. And in fact, if you were fighting a squad of 50 kobolds as opposed to just 5 of them, you would just upscale the damage by 10. I mean, it's really that simple. There's just mechanics about like unit control, action economy, how far can creatures move inside of a certain span of time. So there's like a lot of little niggly, little nuanced bits that you have to like figure all that stupid crap out to make sure that the game still works. Because conceptually it's super simple, but there's like crap loads of little caveat rules about like, I don't know, like initiative order and how far away, like how well can troops obey you if they don't have visibility. What happens if you have like a squad, like if you have a troop of 30 Medusa and they're all staring at the same guy at once? Like, how does that change the saving throw to being petrified? Like all that stuff. You have, like, if you've got a squad of say 600 troops that are size large, and they're marching across a like an Avard's Black Tentacles spell that's eating up an 80 foot area in their footprint, like they're walking across this. How does that affect 600 troops? Like, we have solutions to all those questions. It's just, it takes a long time to go through the entire spellcasting section of the books, the entire combat section of the book, and then look at every single class feature that affects both of those chapters to see how they get modified by changing the amount of troops that you're controlling per round. And it's a shitload of work, but the results are just a lot better than I had hoped. It's a gift that I was allowed the option to be able to create these things. Like they were handed to me. I'm the guy that got to create these things. I don't know what it is I deserve in life to have the opportunity to build these tools, but it's just exciting for me to just, well, it probably comes through, but I love talking about this crap. Endlessly excited. If I didn't actually roleplay this stuff, I wouldn't be able to be this excited. But I actually play test the stuff that I like, all the stuff that I have on DMsGuild under my name. I play tested all that crap, and I know it all works, and I don't publish it until I know it does. So like the core, like the spell point variant rule core mechanics book that I had, that took me 2 years to produce because I had to keep play testing it to make sure that all the shit that went on with all the little interesting bits about using color mana as a spellcasting system, tapping to maintain concentration and stuff like that. It's just a different way of using what already exists inside of 5e, but it's so different that I can't just say, oh yeah, that just feels like an ancestral guardian barbarian. That thing's good to go. It's like, I don't build subclasses. I build systems that allow you to expand what you do in your game, which is a very slow, it's a studio project, but I'm just a guy. It's just me, my editor, and occasionally I have a co-writer, depending on how big the project is or how techy it gets, and I need to pay somebody to help me basically do like mechanical development to make sure that the math actually works, and to double check me on like how we're using action economy. Like for example, one of the early on rule mechanics that we had for spell jamming was the pilot could use their bonus action or action. The default was an action, but if you're a rogue, you could use your bonus action to grant dodge for your ship, which meant that all attacks against your ship, as well as all attacks against the creatures and all attacks against siege weapons on your ship, were at disadvantage because that's what dodge is. Way too powerful. It became incredibly difficult to do any kind of meaningful damage to any ship that was investing in dodge every round. It got unfun because it ended up basically doubling the length of, like, it doubled the amount of rounds to end any kind of a combat. So like if you get bored after 5 rounds of combat, imagine everything's dodging. And that 5 rounds just became 10 because no one can hit a goddamn thing. It's like you might not have thought that because it's like, oh yeah, we're just upscaling stuff to to 5-foot scale, to like a 50 or 500 foot scale, what's the big deal? It's basically 5e combat as is. Everything should be fine, right? No, because that dodge action, like if your pilot doesn't have anywhere to go because you're already within weapons range and they're just kind of hanging out, and they're not particularly good at melee combat, so they don't want to actually get the ship engaged, like they don't want to grapple with enemy ships because they don't want to take the damage or for whatever reason. They're basically just hanging out. So there's nothing that stops them from using defensive actions. But we did come up with defend, which basically gives you advantage on your concentration checks, advantage on dexterity, and advantage on grappling checks, so that you're gaining benefits that minimized. It didn't prevent you from taking damage, but it helped prevent you from having any collateral effect. So you're just taking damage instead of having conditions stacked up on top of you. Like you could defend yourself. You get a advantage to prevent your ship from having your gravity shunted and scuttle everybody on board. So now the 30 guys that you have running trebuchets for your ship, half of them just fell off the goddamn boat because it just got turned upside down because the ship that you're fighting is much bigger than you and it just clipped you. And it causes all of your gravity plane to shift at a weird angle. And half your crew is dead because they just took 30 points of damage from falling 40 feet. And the rest of them are off deck. It's going to take you like 5 rounds to catch up. Meanwhile, that Night Spider is just landed on your Hammerhead ship, and it's got 4 of its legs stabbing holes through the middle of your fucking ship. It's like, we can't afford to lose our crew right now. So like defend becomes like a really useful thing to do. But it's not preventing you from having a night spider land and start stabbing you, but it will help make sure that you don't dump your entire crew when it happens. Like that kind of stuff. Like you can't see the value of like the subtlety in those differences until you actually have the opportunity to see it actually happen. And you're like, oh yeah, that totally makes sense. So like playtesting is so important, and the bigger the project that you aspire to produce, the more testing, unfortunately, it has to go into it. So that's why all my shit takes like a year to produce or more. Because like this Eberron adventure that we're making, I had 4 teams running through this thing, running different types of plots, scenarios, goals, resources, starting points, objectives, like all this stuff. Like we were switching it up, and they were coming up with different solutions to problems every time. It's like, oh, that's really smart. We should actually reward people for thinking about doing that. So like we made changes to the tunnel, for instance. So like there's this, it's worth it though. It is worth it. Building something that you've ran or played in and seen abundant use of, and for you to know that it comes out strong, like to have zero doubt in what it is you're producing, and have intimate knowledge of why you made the decision that you made for a specific tactic and why you didn't choose something that was lower hanging fruit. That's good shit, man. Like you want to pay attention to that. So like when you see something, like when you see like a 5-page mass combat system, it's like I know that, and I know that, and none of those things work. So like you just came up with an idea and you're trying to sell an idea without actually knowing if it's a good idea or not. You see what I'm trying to say? Anyway, I'm pretty damn snarky, but I don't like people putting out ideas and not really knowing the ramifications that go on behind it. Like, I don't know. I've thrown out more than a couple examples at this point, but it's just when you get really good, like when you become a good designer yourself, you can recognize when somebody has really invested time and energy into like actually making sure something works as intended before offering it. And those are the kind of people you want to hook up with. It's like, I want to do a project with you because every time I see something that you put out, it's actually done well. And it looks like you tried. So it's like, those are the kind of dudes you want to have at your table. So anyway, I'm on super ramble mode, so hope you're enjoying the ride. I am, after all, just kind of filling in color on squares. Fortunately, I get to bump up to a larger gauge here for a little bit. I better hit save. My gut tells me, yeah, that was problematic. Say, ooh, I'm gonna have a sip of Coke. Sponsor. I've been ranting off into another for a while. I'll probably miss a comment. Love this on it. Yeah, Descent into Avernus. By far. All the potential in the world. My current complaint about Wizards of the Coast in general is that the way that they write adventures, it's like they create a linear path, and I'm pretty sure that they build it that way with the assumption that a DM is going to add or change content so that it doesn't run exactly as played, which is the opposite of adventures like Flutes. I think Flutes and I have talked about this more than once. But Adventure League is designed to run an adventure as written and to deviate as little as possible so that a player can move from one table in one city to another, and if it's the same chapter, it's going to feel the same. They want that samey consistency for Adventure League play, which is a holdover from the old tournament modules that first edition had when they actually ran like speed runs through, like dungeon speed runs or kill count was the other way you could. There was kill count, speed runs, and thorough looting. Like if you could find all the secret rooms with all the secret treasure, you could gain more points than somebody that was able to clear a room, say, every 15 minutes in real time. But if you're speed running and you're clearing a room every, say, 5 minutes, not bothering so much with treasure, not trying to kill everything, just trying to get through the entire dungeon, you could potentially score more points than a team that is unsuccessful at finding more treasure. And same thing with kill squads. They had those 3 paths of gaining points in the tournament, and you had like 4 hours, and just pick your poison, however much treasure, however many rooms, and however many creatures you want to kill. That they tally your score at the end of the tournament, and whoever had the most points would win the figurines or whatever it is that they were giving away, like extra dice or whatever, a stack of books, whatever it is that they were selling at that, or whatever they were giving away at the time for the tournament. But that was an actual thing, and so the Adventure League kind of has that same flavor, but of course the current generation of adventures are so narrative driven that there's not many goals to actually achieve inside of the adventure unless your DM is hacking the hell out of it, which leads back to my original complaint, which is that Wizards kind of assumes you're going to, if you're not in an Adventure League, that you don't have to and probably won't play the adventure as written in the book. Which means that you're adding content, or you're changing the goals of the NPCs, or you're changing how they interact with the characters somehow. You're homebrewing it. You're kit bashing the adventure. But Wizards doesn't provide any guidance on how to kit bash. They say, here's a kit that you can bash, have fun, and they assume grognards like me are going to tell you, if you listen, how to kit bash adventures. And it just happens I run a stream that builds all these assets and offers you a kit bash. Descent into Avernus kit bash. Here you go. The Spelljammer adventure that Combat and Exploration we're building. It's got 20 pages of content on how to convert the Light of Xeraxis adventure using the Spelljammer Combat and Exploration mechanics that we've developed to prove that these systems actually work. Like, you can't sell somebody, and you can't expect to sell somebody a car without test driving it. So here's 20 pages of us turning the Light of Xeraxis into a command campaign. Have at it, boss. So like people like me are huge into kit bashing adventure. I didn't realize I was at first, but hell, I love it. I'm actually really happy to hear that, because that means I've got the ability to basically produce content forever, adding additional scenarios or creating new aspects to an existing adventure. As Wizards continues to put out narrative-driven content, I can continue to kit bash them into, this is how this adventure would have felt in first edition, and here's all the rules to do that using 6e, because a lot of this stuff is going to publish when 6e comes out, so I'll have to do a rules conversion, which won't be difficult because I do all my layouts myself, so I can go back in and I can futz with the page order and muck it up as much as I need to fix it so it complies with the 6e language. But all this stuff pretty much has to go on DMsGuild. I could fan content the stuff and put them on my Patreon page, but until I have like 5,000 followers on YouTube, there's no real point putting stuff on Facebook on a Patreon channel, because I'm not gonna have any Patrons. I got like 1 or 2 Patreon followers right now, and I don't really even offer any benefits. I think they just pity me. But you know, if I get up to 5,000 subscribers on YouTube, and I got people that are as excited as I am about this style of gameplay I'm talking about, then I would be able to say, yeah, what do you guys want me to rip? You know, what do you want me to kit bash this month? I'll post it on I'll post it on my Patreon. I just ask that you would, you know, give me $1 a month to do it, and I think it'd be pretty realistic for me to get. If I got 5,000 people following on Facebook, it means I should be able to pull probably 100 to 200 of them to follow along with me on a kit bash Patreon, where everything's free for you to grab. I'll have all the books free for you to read on DMsGuild and buy them there if you want to give me some money. But everything that would use those printed mechanics, I can make free for people to consume on my Patreon and put them on Reddit and say, hey, you know, we're building shit. Come help vote on what we're going to kit bash next. Like, that is a viable path for me to basically graduate out of the DMsGuild into my own content production, like, say, maybe in the next 4 years. If it takes 10, who cares? I'm only 47. As long as I don't go fully blind and I don't eat too much sugar. Oh, hold on a second. Yeah, as long as I don't eat too much sugar, I won't get dementia. So I could potentially be doing this for another 30 years. And if you guys think I'm pretty good at painting right now, give me another 20 years. It'd be freaking awesome. I cannot wait. Like, artists are the only people that want to grow older. They're like, they don't care about they don't care about how healthy they are or if their dick works or whatever. They're thinking about, God, what kind of art can I produce after doing it for another 30 fucking years? Like, how fast am I going to be able to produce the same level of quality that takes me 12 hours now? And in that same time, how much better is it even going to be? Like, that is insane. I cannot wait. I have to, because that's how time works. But I am honestly excited about the process of me aging over time, because there's so much value that I gain in the process of aging. I don't know a lot of people that aren't artists that feel that way. So if there's any kind of an art or a craft, if it's like homebrew design for D&D, that's awesome. If you love painting miniatures, anything that you have to study to get better at, that isn't likely to be taken, like sports, like getting good at sports is sure. But the older you get, you see basketball players turn into golf players. What happened to all your basketball skills there, boss? The only thing that you retain from being a 1% basketball player at the age of 70 is having the discipline to become a 1% performer in something that's not basketball. An artist, though. A sculptor that's been sculpting for 30 years. Ask him, what does he think he's going to be able to do with his craft in another 30 years? And he's going to smile. Because it's going to excite him. because he knows that the things that are difficult for him now will become easy for him later. It's not like a layup shot is going to get any easier for that basketball player in 30 years. So I will argue that sports is an entertaining way to exercise your body so you can stay fit. And it will help prevent erosion of your health over time. But you will have to slow down. And that thing that you loved, that you fell so in love with when you were younger, you can't do anymore. It's taken from you. There's that risk for artists, like you could go blind or you can get paralyzed or whatever. That's an outside risk. It's an unlikely risk, especially if you do take care of yourself. And sports is a good way to take care of yourself, so I ain't knocking that. I'm just saying that art, crafting, is the only thing that you can be excited about getting older and having access still. Because I'm about to start mojo joeing on this subject, so I'm gonna have to switch subjects. But God, man, like this is the one. Like making books and painting and cartography are like the only things in my life I haven't tried to get rich quick with. Because crafts, you can't rush being a good craftsman. It's impossible. So you may as well enjoy the slow grind. And if you can learn to enjoy the slow grind, you can build a discipline in your heart so that when you finally do land someplace where you've got some notoriety and you've got a decent following, you'll have the discipline of slow gaining and earning that attention. So you're not going to freak out and be something weird. If something comes along that puts you off base, you're not going to have a bad day and screw up your whole brand making some stupid social media content. Comment that's inappropriate or whatever. And the slower you can build that shit, the more discipline you have, the more confident it is in what you say, the more you can handle when you make mistakes, if you actually make any. So that's me being a long tooth. I am nearly 50 after all. So I'm getting to the age where I'm opinionated. I'm good enough that if I know more than you, I can beat you in a fight. But I'm pretty good about being able to give guidance, provide warnings, and offer tips on shortcutting shit that I've discovered over my years. But you can only what was I saying? I don't remember who I was talking to. The quote was you can't you can point out where the potholes are on the road, but it's the driver's skill to avoid them that's really going to be tested. Oh yeah, we were talking about running high level campaigns. There was some video. It was like they were saying a good solution to the high level adventure play style, like how difficult high level like level 20 characters are. Like if you want to run a 20th level campaign, a good idea is to take retired characters that were lower level and artificially level them up to 20th level, and then do like a one-shot cameo of those characters so that you could revisit them. That is a horrible idea, because I guess it was Critical Role that did it in one of their. I'm not a critter, so I don't know which campaign is which. I just know that the reference used in the conversation was Critical Role, I guess, brought back their like first season characters as 20th level demigods or whatever to lend hand to the actual characters that were active in that campaign. I guess to take on like a high CR threat or something, and to be like an homage moment to the earlier campaign as a clapback to their own growing success. But if you don't build your character from level 1, by the time you get, like, if you just build a White Room 20th level character, there's always shit shows, man, because you do not know what the hell you're doing with that character. You don't know how they operate. You don't know what you don't know what their best action loop is. You don't know half the abilities that they use, even worse than normal casual players. You've got stupid amounts of options that you aren't familiar with already, so you have decision paralysis. I've done it. It slows the game down ridiculous. I haven't done it in like Jesus. I haven't started above first level in a campaign, I think, like in 8 years. All my campaigns start at hold on, I did this wrong. Yeah. Okay, great. That's how that works. Sorry, I got lost for a second. This is a pretty busy, convoluted map. So I occasionally get lost on what side of the line am I working on? Which is why it's great to have so much color separation here. Makes it a lot easier to understand the map. But it's discipline is what we're talking about here. You gotta understand the tools that you're using. Anyway, I don't think that was the original point, but that seems to be where I landed. So, I don't know if flutes are still around or not. I don't know if you came up with a name for that sword attack. I'm probably alone. I probably lost everybody. That's okay. The reason I started doing this stuff, originally I was doing it on Twitch, but I was listening to a lot of Pantera, Sepultura, Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin, Tool, a bunch of licensed music. And so I ended up basically losing monetization options on Twitch. But I had done a shitload of art. Like all the art, like in the link down below, the DMsGuild to the spell, the Color Mana spell mechanic books that I have. Again, they're all 100% free to look at. Just click on the full preview button, or if you're on mobile, click the eye and it'll download a PDF with sample on every page. But you'll still be able to read the full thing. And but all the artwork in all those books were things that I had streamed. Like all of those books I streamed on Twitch, but it was all copyright music that I was listening to because I didn't give a crap. I just wanted to paint. But I started doing it. I started streaming in the first place because there were so many. There's like 80, like 96 illustrations in all of those books. That's a shitload of art I had to produce, and it only took me like 3 months worth of effort to produce all of them, which is honestly pretty damn fast for a fill. Just doing this work has really up my game. Like every book I create, it improves my art. Just like noticeably improves my art. Either I get much faster, or it just gets it's just cleaner, or it's better color theory. Like something pops. Every book I learn something, and it's always in the middle of the project where it clicks. I'm like, oh crap! I gotta go back and fix all my other pictures. So I hate when it happens, but God, I would never want it to not happen. It's like my experience. I'm on milestone experience points, and every time I build a book, that's my milestone. So I get to level up something, and it's exciting. Like more books, like more worthy books. I could spit out 20 subclasses tomorrow, but that's not. They just don't feel like a challenge to me. I just don't care. I want something more impactful, something that's more meaningful, not just to one player, but to like how you play the game. That's what I want to change. I want 5e to be better, and I know that Wizards can't. So it's kind of up to us to do it. And it's, I just happen to publish stuff on the DMsGuild, so here I am. But so I found out that streaming like this kept me moving forward because there's so many illustrations. I figured, man, I'm going to procrastinate at some point. I'm going to start burning out. I'm going to get emotionally exhausted, and I'm going to run away from the project. And I can't afford to do that. I have to finish this because there's so many things I want to do in my life after this freaking book. So I got to get this book out. And I'm currently having that conversation with like 3 books right now. But it's true. It's there. I gotta get it out. So streaming became a way to hold me accountable. Because I can't listen to, my computer just locked up. So I have to save, wait for it to finish up, and I have to close it. I don't know if you saw this map or not, but this is all the color schemes that we're using for the map that we're building. And we have all that same texture. We got this gross water that drains down into the underground here into this tunnel. There's also a ladder over here. You can climb down and then scoot underneath this wall to get into this tunnel here. You can walk down this tunnel, fight undead. Continue down the tunnel, fight undead. So you got this little line of water that's running along the wall because there's an incline here. This is the incline that you're walking down, and at some point the water starts to stack up on you. and that is about here. This is where the water line hits. So from here, you have to start wading into this oil slick, disgusting, burbly water, and there's undead down here, drowned assassins specifically that'll grab you by the legs and then try to drown you, as the drowned assassin would do. But there's also ghouls and, you know, floater zombies and stuff like that. There's all sorts of gross crap that comes after you if you decide to go down this tunnel to try to get into the underground. You don't have to use this. There's 3 paths to the underground tunnel, to the underground laboratory you're trying to get to. This is just arguably the most disgusting. But yeah, I want to close that out. Do not save. Thank you. So I can relaunch the cemetery. The Photoshop and OBS don't quite mesh well together, so occasionally it locks on me. It lets me save. See there. Now you can see how this is starting to look a little bit like, you can see that. It's a pretty intense map. Takes a while to do, but luckily it's using the same cartography language as the other 2 maps that we'd already built. And then once we finish this, we get to go underground into the lab and use the texturing that we learned from this project, from these topside maps. We can integrate that texture into the underground map. And once we complete the underground map, we get to go to Act 1 and flesh out the, I gotta drop the opacity on that dirt so I can see the lines properly. A little deeper than that. There we go. I'm just gonna lock that. Thank you. This is Epidemic. Subscription music that I listen to. I think it works like probably every other subscription service. If I publish content playing the music in the background, they check the timestamp of the publication against the timestamp of my subscription. If the date's aligned, they're cool. I can use anything I want. If the dates are unaligned, then they hit me with violation for copyright infringement. Pretty simple agreement. I'm pretty sure Spotify works the same way. It's just I just had a difficult time with the user interface on Spotify. I was having a difficult time finding any kind of music that I wanted. Like, there's a lot of music, but I couldn't find anything specific that I wanted. So when I bounced over here to Epidemic, everything that I just put random searches in for, I'm like, oh, this is great music. I'm good with this. I feel like don't know why I have I'm gonna do that. I couldn't figure out what the hell was going on with that line. That makes sense. Coolio, back at it. I'm going to be back on tomorrow morning for my morning coffee art. It's 8 p.m. here in Seattle right now. In 10 hours, 6 a.m. Seattle time, PST. It's 8 now. It'll be 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. I'll be back on, continuing our work on the Citadel of Light for the Light of Xeraxis conversion. At the 1 mile by 1 mile footprint, broken up into 10 by 10 combat grid of 500-foot squares for your squadrons to carpet bomb the Citadel if you choose. If you can, if you need to, if you feel that's the best way to stop the elves from destroying your homeworld. Destroying their stupid Citadel is a pretty good solution to that if you can pull it off. But that's on you, Turbo Dog. If you can pull it off, go for it. Otherwise, you can land and walk through the adventure as presented. But honestly, killing a bunch of elves is good payback for what they did to your homeworld. It's worth considering. Sometimes you gotta clear out a nest of evil so there's no more evil, than to hope that some of them are actually okay. Oops. This can be more like that. Oh, wow. Big block. I bet I could speed up this whole process by doing large block zoning like this and then going in for more intimate detail at a closer scale. So let's give that a go. Hold on. Let's give that a try. Here's another large block I can just fill in. Yeah, I think I've been tenderfooting this a little bit too much. You need to be a little bit more aggressive about just laying in some color just to get the thing down the road. I mean, I do a lot. I do a lot of work when I'm not on stream, so I just give you snips and pieces. Like, this is where I'm at in this process right now. Tag along for a couple hours, and then I'm done. But I'm going to work on it for like another 4 hours tonight. So you guys see, you guys get to see where I'm at with the project right now, and then I got to get the thing done. I just like to hold myself accountable by showing up on stream every day and saying, this is what I got done today. This is what I got done today. And here's what we got done today. And today. Excuse me. Ad nauseum. Because the work's got to get done, and there's a crap load of it, and I am still too small of a studio to outsource creative production like this, and even if I could, I probably wouldn't want to, because I got into this because I love D&D artwork and cartography. So even if I could, I probably wouldn't trade off. I think I could say I have created a significant size studio if I ever get to the point where I'm hiring someone to produce a cover painting instead of me building it myself. Like, I think that'll be like a clear indication that my time is better spent on overseeing whatever projects are being overseen and to assist with, like, say, mechanical development and editing than to actually be pushing pixels for money. Like, I would have no problem growing to that scale someday, but I would definitely want to make sure that I slow build into it, because I got into all of this because, well, I used to do a lot of freelance art during 3rd edition, and then I did a lot of character portrait art during 4th edition, and it was in 5th edition that things globalized to the point where I was competing for art gigs with some kid in Indonesia with just as good a painter as I was, could produce just as good a quality of product, but had 15% cost of the lifestyle that I did. So, like, if I only had to spend $1,500 a month to have a middle class income, maybe I should just move to freaking Indonesia and keep doing what I love. Like, that was a serious conversation I was having at one point with myself. Like, do I need to move someplace like stupid cheap and just learn another language so I can just have a stable internet connection and a decent little rig that lets me kick out artwork? And I was like, no, I like where I am. I like my family and all the blah, 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 blah. So I ended up not doing it, but it was a serious consideration in the early 2000s. It's like, maybe I should just yeet out of here to someplace poor so that I can charge half of what my current rates are, but live twice as well as I do now. Like, that was compelling. Really freaking compelling idea. But didn't shake out, stuck around where I am. And then I was like, well, I'm never going to make the amount of money that I want to make as an artist. I guess I got to make books instead and try to make money off of books, so that I become my own art director and I can decide how much I want to invest into artwork, and I'd be the one producing it, so I don't have any cost there. It's a great idea, but boy, it takes a shitload of time. And if I ever do hire artists, I'm not gonna be a cheap patron. I'm gonna pay them freaking cash, like good money for art, because that's what I would have wanted as an artist. So if I can't pay you well, I haven't earned the right to ask you yet. So, and if I can, pay out like 12 cents a word for writing, or 20 cents a word for editing, or $4,000 for a book cover, then I think I've built a hellacious little studio. It'll just, like I said, it's going to take years to do it. It's worthwhile. That is the goal. I guess the first goal is to get myself to a place where I don't have to have a job. Like, this can be my full-time income, and for it to become bulletproof. That way I can demonstrate to any future employees, like, I have like, the studio is stable. It has been my income for X years. Like, I can assure you that this project is more money than I need, and I'm willing to give you some of it to make it happen faster than it is. Like, that's the kind of conversation I want to be able to have when I start running my own studio. Because that's a compelling conversation. It's like my Kickstarters get backed, and they get backed for X. I can afford three writers if this Kickstarter hits its goal, and I've yet to miss a goal on a Kickstarter project. Like, I want to be able to throw that kind of a conversation around. So we'll see what happens. I listened to a great essay today. It was I can't remember the name of the YouTube channel, but it was talking about Taoism and how much of Taoist philosophy is, I guess, built around the way that he was saying is that a lot of their philosophy is built around you're a witness in your life that you're carried through. And there's literally nothing you can do to change the feelings you have, the thoughts that you have, or the things that you do. And people that get angry at themselves is typically because they think, feel, or do things that they don't want to do and end up doing anyway, and they have no idea why. So they judge themselves harshly for not having control of actions that were beyond their control. It was never their job to control those actions. It was their job to witness and appreciate what those actions do, or what those feelings mean, or what those thoughts create. And you were to be a witness throughout life. So don't try. The less you try, the more life can create weird solutions to get to its endpoints more delicately and more surprisingly and more pleasantly for those that are witnessing it. The more we fight the flow, the uglier the image gets, the less we appreciate what we see. That's a pretty fucking cool philosophy, I think. It really jives with how I generally like to live anyway, so it's not surprising that kind of content would get fed to me by the lord of the algorithms. But it hit my button, so I mean, cheers to that. It helped me appreciate that I have absolutely zero control on how successful I'm going to be at the studio venture that I'm attempting to build. But if I don't get in the way of myself, whatever it ends up being, I'm going to love. It'll be exciting to watch it manifest. And I get to be a witness to its creation, and it gets to be inside my life. And that itself already feels special. I'm proud of that. So, like I said, I'm looking forward to where I am in the next 30 years and what I'll be a part of. stuff's exciting, man. It's worth living for. It's worth sticking around and trying to be just a little bit healthier so you can play just a little bit longer. Just so you can see just a little bit more. Anyway. That's what they call philosophy. So I'm going to set a timer on my clock. It is 8:20. And I've got about an hour worth of feed left in me. So I'm going to set a 20-minute timer, and I'm going to let it ring. I'm going to let it pop twice, and that'll be my last run. So give me a hot second here for me to set my timer. Boop. Start. 20 minutes on the block. We're going to just keep doing what we're doing. And we'll see how far I get. But yeah, we'll be back on tomorrow morning. We'll be continuing to work on the Citadel of Light for the Light of Zoraxis squadron battle. That's coming along really great, and it is the last significant map. Actually, that's not true. The asteroid fight needs to have. It's the black and white is done, but I've got a lot of asteroids I have to draw on that one. I have to color. All the asteroids are drawn, but I have to color all the asteroids that are on that map. So that is something else that I forgot I had to do. But I want to get back to, after I finish the Citadel of Light, I want to get back to continuing token production. Other than the ship tokens and the asteroid map, once I have all the tokens and the maps done, then the only art assets that will be necessary will be whatever needs to be included in the actual text, as either diagrams, charts, or just spot art to fill out the page balance. So it's Adam Hancock has been continuing the edits in that project. I saw that he did some updates today. So on Saturday, I should have an opportunity to sweep through and approve all the edits, or spar with him over anything that he is contesting in the work. A good editor will push back at stuff like, why are you doing it this way? Or does blah, 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 does that work? That sort of stuff. Like just some good pushbacks to make sure they know where they're at, why this stuff should be edited the way it is. Like what's the intent behind the new mechanics or language it is that you're producing, so they know how to properly edit it. Like a lot of pushback from editors is just them understanding the parameters of the project that you've built, so they know how to properly code the wording to it. Like it's not, most of the time it's not adversarial at all. Like if you have you can have an adversarial relationship with your editor. It will be frustrating and a lot more emotionally fatiguing than it needs to be. But it's absolutely legit. But I have a pretty awesome relationship with my current editors. Stuart, for this Eberron adventure, Stuart Braz, he is amazing. He does great editing. He's really inquisitive, and he knows a shitload about Eberron. So he's a great guy to have on your team. And then for Spelljammer, we've got Adam Hancock, who built Balduran's Guide to Kingdom Building, as well as Elf and Orc Had a Baby. So he certainly has strong design chops, and he knows how to land a good project. So it's really exciting that he's excited about the work that we're doing here, because if Adam's backing us up on this, he's got a lot more audience than I do, and he has a lot more clout in this industry than I do. So I'm hoping that this offering is strong enough to have its own energy, its own respect, to then be complimented by Adam saying, yeah, I worked on this book, you should buy it. Like that's awesome. And Ukulele Bard is my co-writer. He helped me with most of the mechanical development, and he's a huge PF advocate. So like that's a totally different type of audience. I think it's great to have him on the team. He's really smart, mechanically minded. He's got a really good look at numbers. Ukulele Bar is pretty damn good stuff. He also plays a lot of different systems, so he's really well read, and he's fun. He's a funny guy. I like him. It was really cool to hook up with him. And then Ken Carcass is my editor for the Marshall Powers project that I've been developing on Monday's lunch stream. He was also one of my editors for the Core Mechanics, Eldritch Knights, as well as Elemental Key books that I have published in that bundle down in the DMsGuild link down below. You can read all those for free. Buy them if you like them. It's certainly appreciated because that artwork took forever to paint. So any kind of compensation to get back some of that art money would be grand. Truly appreciated. And I'm only 80 books away from the Core Mechanics book going gold. And I think I'm like 60 sales away for Spellpoint Warlocks going gold. That's pretty awesome. There's a decent chance that the Spellpoint bundle will start racking gold in. I don't assume in 2023. It would have to have a particularly good, like 2 or 3 good months of sales for me to be able to pull off 80 sales in a year. But it's pretty realistic for 2024, which would be awesome because I was planning on updating that book with the new 1 D&D 6th edition mechanics, whatever those end up being. Since the DMsGuild is still up and running and still is offering us the same deals we have right now, nothing changes for us over on the DMsGuild. So none of this OGL, SRD, can I or can I not produce content stuff that doesn't affect me because I'm just I just remake Wizards content better than they did, and then put it back on their website. So it's not like I'm going anywhere. So I don't have to stress over it, thank God, because I got enough to stress over, and I got enough work on my plate as it is to worry about where the hell is it going to go. Like for the next year and a half, all the content I'm producing belongs on the DMsGuild because I'm using a lot of IP off of their products. So it is literally only fair that I would publish this stuff on DMsGuild. I have to. Yeah. That's what I'm supposed to do. I think I've just about ran out of steam on rambling. I think I need to have somebody ask me something specific to fire up another round of talking points for another 20 minutes. So, if you got any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Or if you're watching this after I've been live, you're certainly welcome to drop any comments or questions into the comments down below. I'll be happy to address them when I see them, hopefully sooner than later. I pray. Song, I'm not so much into this song. It's kind of weird. Get out of here, scallywag. Thank you. Yep, finally ran out of conversation pieces. I burned out. Oops, pressing buttons. No music. It's windy enough outside that my wind chimes are working. That is not common. Kind of tucked away in this little wind shelter, so it's unlikely that I get to hear wind chimes. It was not a wise purchase of mine. So I do love when I have the opportunity to hear them. That's downhill. That's downhill. I think that's supposed to... I think that's supposed to be like that. I think this is supposed to not be there. That feels right. Okay, we're on point now. Nice. Where are we at? Oh boy, there's a lot going on here, yo. This is just a lot. See how I broke away from that interior grind and I moved out to something a little more simple. The perimeter boardwalk, flagstones, boardwalk. That's the right term. Yeah, the perimeter boardwalk. Much easier to process, far less involved. That's why I run multiple projects at the same time as well, because if I can keep them paced properly, I can be switching gears from one project to another project. So as I get tired of one sort of work process, I'm not trapped inside completing that process before I can move on to any other work. Like if I just need to take a mental break away from doing this, I could just I could jump into token art, or I could look at how to consolidate some of the exploits I have in my martial power system. Blah, 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 blah. Like there's infinite options for me to reframe the tasks I'm performing while retaining production time to do it. That makes sense. Yeah, something more like that. I live right next to a police station, and the amount of motorcycle racing that I hear on the highway between me and the police station is a little ridiculous. Like twice to 4 times a day, I hear motorcycle racing right by the police station. Like, what? What are you guys doing? How does that happen? Yeah, they must have spotters. I remember when I used to hot rod race. I was not a driver, but we would have 2 people in the car, and mostly as a spotter for cops. But we would race between highway exits. We pick a stretch of highway that's not typically part of any kind of a speed trap or anything. Duh. And so like we'd go like from exit 31 to 32. So it'd be like, like a 2-mile stretch or whatever, and we would just try to tear down. Like we would off ramp onto the highway, and as soon as we got a straightaway off the off ramp, that's when we go, and then we'd have the 2-mile stretch or whatever it is down to the next exit, and then whoever was onto the whoever got to the stop at the light at the end of the off ramp, that would be the winner. And so I got to run around in cars like that a lot. I couldn't drive myself because I'm too blind, but it was fun playing sidekick. People just liked me, so like they just like having me around. It was fun. I was really good at being a passenger because I didn't have any responsibilities in the car, so I got really good at paying attention to what the driver's got going on, what she may need, keep an eye out on other people that are in the immediate area. If she's got any kind of problems like blind spots or anything, keeping my eye out in the blind spot. Like I learned to be useful as a passenger, so especially in our teens, I was useful. People like to have me in the car. That's how I became a ardent passenger. I don't know if that's a real word or not. Meh. You know what? I have this thing on shuffler, but I feel like I need to switch the beat. So hold on real quick. Let me just grab a random song. Enable shuffle. That should switch things up a bit. That'll do. I like this song. Hey, timely timer, keeping time. Back on the timer. Got another 40 minutes left on our block, maybe a little less. 8:40 now. We'll see where I'm at in 20 minutes if I want to keep it on for another 20 or not. If we don't have any conversation going on, I might just cut in another 20. We got some stuff going on. I've got 40. But I'm starting to want to listen. I'm starting to feel the pull to listen to some licensed music. I think I want to listen to some Filter. And it's rude for me to listen to Filter on my headset while you guys are stuck here listening to Epidemic. So I will stay here and listen to Epidemic with y'all. But yeah, if I find myself alone here again in 20 minutes, I'll just do a last shout out to folks. And if anyone answers the call, then I'll stick around a little bit longer. Otherwise, I'm just going to log. I'll log out and I will just continue this effort on my own off stage. So if you are catching me here on stream, AMA, whatever you got going on, man, let me know. I'm falling in love with this piece. I mean, I do not mind. I love it when I fall in love with the piece that I'm working on. I just didn't expect it to happen just this instance. But sometimes you look at something and you're like, wow, this thing's actually coming together really nicely. And then you have like this fat proud. And then you don't care how long it's going to take. It's going to get done. It always feels... I imagine that's what parenting feels like. But I get to be proud of myself. And if I disappoint myself, I can be very forgiving. God, I love doing this. This is so fun. This is so ridiculously fun. There's all these water puddles over. They're gonna be freaking murder. Oh my God, there's just so much murder on this map. I better freaking love this picture because the pregnancy is going to be brutal. Oh my God, why do I not have these things done? Got some topography to come back and do some line art. Tart. Hold on. Something's wonky here. I gotta figure it out. Might have lines in place where they shouldn't be. Let's find out together. block this in. That makes sense. Block that in. That makes sense. Oh, okay, I see it. No, wait. Nope, that doesn't make any sense. This is an open hole. In. Ope. So let's go back through and take ours down to a 3. That works. Very good, very good, very good. Very, 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 very good. Well, where is that gap? I had a gap in here somewhere. Fall into the gap. Is there not a gap? Oh, here we go. God, this shit's so rough shot. I thought I finished all this. Nope, it's rough. When it's that rough, I know I haven't gone over it again. So apparently I neglected this area at some point. Didn't intend to. Feels like we're back on point though. Let's proceed from here. Let's see if we proceed right. One color. There we go. Man, I am really looking forward to building that squads and armies, in command of squads and armies, the mass combat expansion that we've been playtesting for the past year-ish. Because that board game, man, people aren't buying a Dragonlance board game because they want a new board game to play. They're people that wanted to play Dungeons and Dragons, but got told they have to buy and play this board game if they want to have the full Dragonlance experience, and that's kind of I think that's a bitter pill. I don't think anyone freaking asks for that, and apparently it took them 2 years to build it, and I'm not impressed anyway. I guess it's the best they could do, but they really should have just invested that money into building a 5e mass combat system that works. It's obviously possible, otherwise I wouldn't have been able to build it. Statistically, it's possible. They just didn't invest the money needed to produce the results. And it's like actually playing, like what we have is actually playing 5e. It's not 5e adjacent and has some similar scaling stats like armor class or whatever. Nope, it is 100%. You can play this as it is flat out D&D. That is a ridiculous pride point that I can never stop crowing about, because that board game is like $90. Who the hell wants to buy that? Like, you play like what, 3 or 4 times maybe, and it's going to be like what, such an amazing game that you're going to want to bring it. Like, it's not Everdell. I know how it works. I watched the tutorials. It's sure as hell ain't Everdell. So why do I want to pay Everdell prices for just Just a janky cardboard box. Screw you. Just, they should have just invested the fucking money to make a 5e game. It's super frustrating that they didn't. It can be done. It can obviously be done. They just didn't bother. I just don't think they believe in what 5e can even be. I think they've given up on it. I think that we have this very short vision, a very narrow vision of what we think the genre of game it is that our audience wants to play, and we're going to not step out of that box. And even when we bait and switch ideas like ship combat or feels like you're part of a warfare battlefront. It's like, no, it really doesn't. And this is a Missouri. This is a Washington company. They should know that they can't promise something they can't deliver on and expect you to pay for it. But I think they probably got enough legalese backing them up to avoid that chargeback argument. But I just wish they had tried. Should have just tried. Their mass combat UA didn't turn out so good 4 years ago, so they just haven't bothered trying since. And it's just like, you could have been so much more than you are. And they don't return my calls, of course. I don't know. Once I have these things on DMsGuild, maybe they'll take them from me and publish them without my consent. They have the right to do that. They can if they choose. It's a dick move, but it's the risk that I chose. I would hope that they'd reach out to me and say, "Hey, we want to do this thing with this thing." I think that'd be awesome, but I doubt it would ever happen. If they ever paid attention to anything that I do, I'm sure they would just take it and not let me know, which is shitty, but again, it's what I signed up for. The price I pay for using their IP. But none of this is my final form anyway. I'll eventually build my own RPG, and I guess it'll have to be like my own system or whatever, so I'm not in a hurry to do it. But it'll take the best of all these mechanics, and I can blend it together so that I'm not just stapling systems onto the game, that I'm building the game with the intention of specifically using these systems. Like, the game is about these systems. And I've got plenty of other ways I can express the mechanics that are inside these books. So, can't copyright mechanics. You can only copyright the words that you use to express them. So, I got a ton of options from a lot of different RPGs that provide plenty of fuel for thought for different nomenclature you can use in a book. All I gotta really do is just change the names of stuff, file off the ID, and you're good to go. So I'll get there eventually. I'll do my own thing. I think the best resume I can possibly ever build as like, hey, I'm a game designer, is going the path that I'm actually going on. Build a mechanic that makes one of WotC's adventures better, build the thing, and then build a comprehensive guide on how to use that thing to make the adventure you're targeting better, like you said it would be. Like, do all those things, and it will be incontestable. It's like, oh yeah, this guy knows what he's talking about. That's a cool thing. And if it really works, it'll have an audience. Like, if my tagline is, you don't have to spend $90 for a board game to have a war in Kryn. Like, if that's my tagline for the army, the In Command of Squads and Armies, I'll probably get at least people to flip through the book. You know, then you can buy all the Kryn maps if you purchase the product and download the zip file that comes with it. Now you can have all the map and token assets like we're building here. And you can skip the board game. If you really want to spend $90 on the board game and compare the two of them, I invite you to do so. But you'll have wasted $90. My PDF you can start using immediately. And you already know how to use it. It's got a couple of extra rules that you need to be thinking about when you're upscaling the amount of troops you're commanding beyond your own. Your own character. And once you let that stuff sink in, it becomes real intuitive real quick. And then the DM can just look at it. It's like, oh yeah, it's the same as balancing. I mean, CR isn't the easiest thing to balance in 5e. Don't let me fool you. But this is essentially the same steps of assessing CR, about how much damage can they take, how easy is it to hit their armor class, balancing action economy. CR tends to just balance saves, AC, and hit points, and damage dealt. It doesn't really speak to action economy and condition effects. Like, it doesn't weigh those in mathematically when determining the CR of something. It's just kind of like bump it up 1 or 2 for every devastating condition it can apply to a character, for instance. Or like if it can do half a fighter's damage at this level in one hit, like in one round of attacks, then up at CR1. Like, those are okay rules, but they aren't spelled out that way. You kind of gotta intuit them that, like, that's how it works. Damn, this thing's coming along nicely. This is really coming along nicely. Well, now I want to listen to Grimes more than I want to listen to Filter. Damn. I've got a very limited shelf life on this artwork right now, I can tell. I got a growing hankering for licensed music. But yeah, this is no conversations happening here. So when my alarm pops, this will be it. So I'm not sure how soon that's going to be. It's 9 o'clock now, so probably just a few minutes. 20 seconds. Oh my God, I'm good at my job. Okay, great. So this is our last stretch. I'm going to be back on in 9 hours. I'll be back in 9 hours, and we'll be working on the Citadel of Light from Light of Zaraxis, the final squadron boss fight. That's what we'll be back doing tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning is Friday. Saturday, I should be on a couple hours in the morning. I'm not sure what we're going to work on. It could be this. It could be Zaraxis. I'm not sure. Whichever one is inspiring the most in the moment when I get up on Saturday. And I'll do that for a couple hours, and then I'll be then I'll be off for the weekend, and then I'll be back on Monday morning, working on whatever's left of the Light of the Zaraxis Citadel. And then we'll be back at lunch Monday for lunch stream, developing martial powers, where we're consolidating different exploits into singular abilities to have better value per power purchased. And then we'll be back Monday night with our evening art stream. We do those on Mondays and Thursdays. Monday, I think we'll probably be working on Eberron again this upcoming Monday. So more of this, and we'll probably finish the cemetery on that Monday night. That's what I'm anticipating. I could well be wrong. Honestly, there's a shitload to do here. I think the water is going to slow me down because there's so much water on this map, and water takes a while. It is a fancy, liquidy, airbrushy sort of option. That's just, I haven't figured out how to produce it quickly yet. I'm producing it. I'm pleased with the aesthetics that I have for the gross water. I feel like it gets slick oiliness across incredibly well, which is the effect I was going for, griminess, you know? And so, yep, that'll be Monday night. And then Tuesday mornings will be, I'll bounce back and forth. I typically, in the morning stream, I typically bounce back and forth between Spelljammer and Eberron. Just whatever's caught my attention. Like if I do one project too many mornings in a row, I want to switch it up just to keep the energy fresh. And so it's been bouncing between Eberron and Spelljammer. These are the two projects I'm working on right now. The Martial Powers project is still in the development phase. So once it clears from development and comes back from edits, then it'll go back into this process as well. So that's just a character option book. It's not a DM option or a campaign option, or even an adventure. It's just character options. Kind of like the Elemental Key book that I have, and even the Core Mechanics book is more. Well, I'd say it's probably on the same par as the Core Mechanics book, which is linked down the DMsGuild link down below for you to take a look at that at no cost. But yeah, guys, stream is over. I'm going to keep at this off stream, but I just need to step away. I think I just need to take a me break and then dive back into this. But I'll be off stream for the rest of the night. So we come back tomorrow. Spelljammer. Saturday, more of this. Monday, Spelljammer. Martial Powers, more of this. Tuesday, Spelljammer. Wednesday, Spelljammer. Thursday, probably Spelljammer, more different maps and tokens. So that's it. This time I'm actually done. I am out of here. I hope y'all have a safe night. Thanks for playing along. If you're new, this is what I do. There's maybe like 300 hours worth of content in my different playlists of me just building maps, talking about D&D philosophy, the differences in the different editions, all the yada yada. You're welcome to tag along. I'd love to see you here. Like, subscribe. And if you can help me out by just letting hours just play out in the playlist, just listen to a block of time on the playlist, even if you just ignore it. I just need to accumulate 4,000 hours of watched content, and it's going to take a while. And I need 1,000 subscribers, and I'm all the way up to 123 right now. That's awesome. So I'm starting to build some momentum, and that's exciting. So I really appreciate you guys taking interest in what I'm doing. I am so looking forward to when we actually get to start doing layouts. And showing you guys the process of actually building raw text into a PDF document. That is just, I love that stuff. It's awesome. So I will see you guys tomorrow morning. I hope you have a safe night. Thank you. I catch you later.